Hi, everyone, and welcome. It is Dire Bear Venturing Company. I am your Dire Bear GM, aka Heath. All of you have seen me running games such as the Escorts, and before that, the Foundations of Adelar. Well, we're back. After the end of the Escorts, we took a step back, took some time off, and we revamped a lot of things. You'll notice that, and that's what we're going to talk about first. And then we're going to launch into a bunch of other stuff, and then we're going to show you what everything looks like new. And the first thing you'll notice is that you don't see a bunch of other players. You just see my stupid face, which is fine. So one of the first things you want to do is a huge shout out to the entire production team, but specifically Otter, who will be joining us here in a little bit. He has put in a lot of time and effort and work into the overlay itself. You'll see some new things such as transitions, music, as you heard, a starting soon, and most importantly, you will notice that you can interact with us. This is something brand new. Um, we actually have currency with which you can do fun things. There is currency that will allow you to tell the party to get up and stretch or to compliment one another or something along those lines. Hydrate. So those are just the Twitch points that you get whenever you watch a channel on Twitch. If you just watch, you'll see down there at the bottom on the left, or down at the bottom underneath the chat, just on the left hand side underneath the chat, there is a circle that will actually start to move around, and it'll tell you you have points. If you click on there, you can see what you can redeem those for, and it's been a lot of fun. We put some thought into these and fun things that you can do to interact. However, if you want to get more heinous, if you will, there is actually another currency that's going on that you will earn while you are in any of our shows specifically. Any of our shows. So, not just this one, not just this channel, any of the shows that we have going on, there's another currency, and that currency is referred to as claws. We're Dire Bears have claws. You earn claws to spend on things such as giving a particular player a boon or a bane. You can give the entire party a boon or a bane, or you can give a player luck. You can actually spend claws on that, but if you are willing to, we sat down and said we really want everybody to get into the spirit of interacting and getting along with us. We've had you guys active in chat, and that is fantastic, and I love it. We will continue to encourage you to talk to us, and we will respond as we can. Understand, please, if I myself don't respond, as I'm usually trying to pay attention to what people are saying and doing the story, but our moderators and constant viewers and things like that are all there, including the players who will kind of keep an eye on things and join in as they can. So one of the things that we have is that we wanted everybody to be able to get in on it. But if you wanted to donate money, such as a sub, that's perfectly fine. You can continue to do that. But you can also cheer bits, and where giving a player a boon or a bane may cost 125 claws, it may only cost you 100 bits. So you can get in earlier, and 100 bits, I think we said, is about a buck 40. So 100 bits to give somebody a boon or a bane. Those costs and the values are actually in the panel underneath the actual screen. You can see that we've added new panels, we've moved things around, and we changed it. This is the first show that will have this new look and feel to it. This is the quality that I want to give you, and as a viewer, this is it. Some other changes that will come about. And thank you all for coming in. Thank you, Raymond, for the gift. That is amazing. We really appreciate it. So far, Raymond's gifted like over 11 subs to this channel. So, a huge thanks for being one of our biggest supporters. If you guys want to get in with a cool group of people that are just a lot of fun to play with, DDO is free to play, and Raymond is actually the leader of Lords of the Realm, and it is the guild that's there. And I would love to say that I get as much of a chance to play as I used to. Unfortunately, I don't, because I'm usually pretty busy doing things. So, unfortunately, there it is. Some of the other things that you're going to see change is about this is that the what's going to be coming up in a moment, we're going to start adding that to everybody. So all of our shows will have an announcement and a recap section. I'm utilizing this time right now in this one particular screen to tell you about these new announcements that we have going on, as well as next time it'll be a recap of what happened, as well as announcements. Um, and then we'll also be seeing some new things that, again, like I said, in a few minutes, once I decide to shut my yap, you you guys will see. And again, a huge thanks to Otter for all of his help. One of the other changes that you're going to see specifically with this show, I haven't laid this down as a stipulation for others, but I wanted to do this. About a year or so ago, I ran a show for a short period of time called Obscurum. It was City of Mist, and it was black and white, and it was done as a noir thing, and it was fantastic. We loved it. There was something that I really loved about it, and that was the fact that it had set out how many episodes we were going to do. I'm here to tell you that Troubleshooters will run for 12 episodes. Once those 12 episodes are done, culminating with the 12th one, we will take a short break and then bring you season 2. Will there be changes? Depends on what happens at the end of this. Do I already kind of know what's going to happen? Well, I mean, sure, I have a roadmap, but honestly, the players are going to decide what really ultimately happens at the end. So that's one of the neat things is this will be an actual seasonal show. There will be 12 episodes, a break. Season 2 will be 12 episodes, a break. Season 3, so forth and so on until we decide that we're done running the troubleshooters. um, and so it'll be a unique way for us to continue with the same cast, find if somebody's schedule changes and we need to move somebody in or out, things like that. It also allows us not to be like get that burn towards the middle of something. You start to get kind of a burnout or you find that lull. 12 episodes, you're going to keep it fast paced, you're going to keep it moving. There's going to be just something every week, and you don't have to worry about, oh, we're just going to do a shopping episode this week because I don't know what else to do. That doesn't mean that we're going to take away from the RP. We're still doing a 3-hour show, and I think it's going to be fantastic. And I really am loving it. The production quality with everything that Otter's done is fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. So now let's talk about the troubleshooters for a moment. The troubleshooters is going to be run using the rules for D&D 5th edition. There are some slight modifications. There are limitations on the races you'll see. There are also limitations on the classes. There are limitations on there's no heavy armor. There is no heavy armor because this setting is 1919 in an alternate version of Earth. And let's tell you a bit more. In the year 1404, what we all call the Voynich manuscript, which is a manuscript full of an unintelligible text, which appears to be alchemical creations as well as an understanding of mathematics and nature that far exceeded anything else at that time, was written on our Earth, the current one that we live on, Earth Prime, as we'll call it using the DC rules. It is a manuscript that nobody understands. But what if? What if that manuscript canon? The first translation of magic being a word of mouth passed down from person to person and actually recorded to where it can then be shared with others. Scribes translating it. Eventually, the Gutenberg press, and you have the printing press, and you can actually, not the Gutenberg, yeah, the Gutenberg press and the first printing press, and where you can actually now have this out. And what if colleges, Oxford, Cambridge University, decided to start teaching magic and encouraging experimentation, and theories of mathematics and the arcane went hand in hand? Where you have conversations about the Bohr model of the molecule and how, or the atom, and how it looks, you also have a conversation about the manipulation of energies to not deny science, but to transform things from one form to another. Science and magic working hand in hand. Throughout the years, it has grown, and this is where things start to take a turn. Because in 1492, there was no celebrated journey by the uneducated. What there was when Christopher Columbus set sail. A scant 3 years later, he returned. Well, I take that back. He didn't return. One ship made the journey back. Every single man aboard, of which there was just enough to crew the ship, tells the story of how the peoples of that world were not to be trifled with. They speak stories of how the ocean rose up and swallowed them whole. The sky belched thunder and lightning on command. The ground rose up and battered the ships. Their warning was, don't go back. That way is not safe. A few years later, with a bit more boldness and another plan, another crew was sent. A single ship, an expedition. They landed on what is now the coastline of North America, somewhere around um, the Hudson Bay, and they met and told a different story. Admiral Atwell, the fated commander of that particular expedition, came back telling stories about how the people were kind but fair, or stern and fair. They can be kind, but they were not to be crossed. He tells a story of 3 men on his ship that crossed them. And as is the lay of the land there, and the law and the rule, the indigenous peoples dealt with it. When pressed further about what happened to them, Admiral Atwell would just stare off into the distance as though seeing something completely removed from his current position, and just simply mutter the words, they were returned to the earth from which they were birthed, and he'll speak no more about it. Colonies were attempted to be established in this new world. However, they were met with opposition at any time that they tried to invade the lands, talking about how the beast, the land, the sky, and the water seemed to be commanded by the peoples there. Eventually, there were 3. They act as port cities and frontier cities. There is an uneasy truce and an understanding that comes from it. Roanoke is still the largest one, New Amsterdam being the other, and the establishment at Brooklyn. Those 3 are the only 3 colonies. There is no United States of America. Somewhere along the way in the 1400s, the veil between worlds was weakened. And in that, they were allowing some elder races. You had elves and dwarves and halflings that were able to come through, orcish raiding parties who had the understanding, these tribal, nomadic people, very noble in their causes. Some went back, some stayed. There was just enough to alter the world a little bit. Not so drastically that it has become the fantasy realm that we would think of when we watch the movie Bright or if we played Shadowrun or anything else like that. A smattering of people. That brings us to 1918 or 1914. In 1914, Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated. That still holds true, plummeting the world into World War I, or as it was called, the Great War, and is still called the Great War. Magic being what it is was not unbridled. It was used in the field as combat you do, as you would use any utility that you have. In 1918, the Battle of Innsbruck, which is in the western edge of Austria-Hungary Empire, now just Austria, waged for days across the lands. The battle went with magic unbridled. It was so deadly and disastrous that Innsbruck and the area around it remain a mire, a morass, a swamp, a dead land where nothing really grows, and those things that do are of a monstrous nature. In 1918, after the Treaty of Innsbruck was signed, ending the Great War, the countries of Europe decided to get together and make sure that there was a balance. The entire world came together and formed one unified group known as the Directorate of Magic, or simply called the Directorate. The Directorate's job is to make sure that magic is being maintained and balanced. They want no one to have absolute control, but magic cannot be practiced unbridled. They are afraid of having a repeat of what happened at Innsbruck. A young man by the name of Colmhaim, who is an up and comer within the Directorate, put together an idea. He put it forth and he said, what if we created small groups, disarming groups, whose sole purpose it was is to maintain order with regards to magic? And that is where the Directorate of Magic, MOM or MOM, came about. They're a special task force regarded with keeping order and maintaining magic stability. The first of those groups is labeled as Team Apples because A is the first letter in the alphabet. Although they wouldn't be known as Team Apples for very long as they took on a new name, and that would be the Troubleshooters. Otter. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you. And that was the part that I was talking about. We're talking about adding intros to everyone. Each of you has received a letter saying that you have been selected for a special organization known as MOM. And with regards to that, you have assembled at a very nondescript building. It looks like a small library within a town. Um, it is a local unit. You've traveled from your own locations, wherever your home city may be, to this part. The town is known as Heidelen, and it is within the edge of the German-Austrian border. Clearly a magic or Directorate of Magic's location, as you can see the large symbol for the Directorate labeled outside of the building. However, the building itself is, for the most part, just kind of a plain brick building. As you each make your way in, you present your letter to the front desk. The stern but the severe looking young lady that sits there, her hair pulled tightly and no hair out of place, looks over the letter, nods at you briefly, and motions to a chair. As you all gather, you can see that there is an interesting mix of individuals there. There is an elf with white hair, a fellow with a rather interesting facial hair and cap on his head, and a very severe looking individual who has his eyes darting around. The most noticeable thing are some interesting scars on the face. As the three of you come together, you sit there, rocking back and forth on your kind of like sitting in your chair, either very still or that nervous leg jitter going on as you wait. It doesn't take long when you watch as a man sweeps in. He's probably in his mid 20s. but you can already see that he has an age about him that or a carries himself in a manner that he has already excelled above his station as it would be. He looks like a ladder climber. He's wearing, even though it's slightly out of style, an older style jacket with buttons across and then it flares out below. The collared shirt is simple, and where you see others wearing a tie, he seems to not be wearing one. He guides you and directs you into a small room. As you enter in, you can see that there is a library there. The library itself is like you would see in like a traditional manor. Several bookcases that surround the area, and you can see a table sitting in the middle. Several chairs around it. There is one chair that is there that has piles of manila folders stuffed full of papers. Several of them are the accordion style file paper that have the cords wrapped around them. Everything sits down, and he motions you to a chair, telling you to please have a seat if you will. My
Whatever
name.
chair is closest, I'll sit. Sorry.
All right. As you take your seats, he stands and presses his hands on the edge of the table, and he says, I would like you all to know that from here on out, regardless if we are successful or not, we're all in this together. I am excited to say that I handpicked you, you specifically, for this matter. Introductions are, of course, in order. My name is Colmhaim. I am your handler, for lack of a better way of saying it. Welcome to Mom. You are part of the, well, you are the first, you're hopefully the first in a long line of task force pulled together in order to maintain order within the world when it regards to magic and the use thereof. We thought about it and said that we could roll out large groups of individuals tromping about, but we feel that the world has seen enough war and other things to. Everybody's sort of had their fill. We thought that it would be easier to find small groups of individuals that can identify problems and deal with them. Well, deal with them anyways. Your job is not really to identify them. Mine's to identify them, and then you find them. And sorry, I'm rambling. I apologize. Less it to be said. You are, congratulations, Team Apples. Team Apples.
Yay.
Right. Okay, I understand. You have questions. Please, please, ask me anything you'd like to.
So, what exactly will we be doing for Mom?
Ah, excellent question. Your job is for I identify problem areas that might have magical incursions or things of the arcane nature or the divine. He motions to the elf with the white hair. And we put a stop to them, maintain order. Yes, that is what we do. Well, I identify the locations and then you go out and handle them in the field, as it were. You are the field agents, and I'm not doing very well at this. Let's try another tactic. Introduce yourselves. How about that? Lysandra.
Hi, I'm Lysandra, and I'm Enjoying my stay. I'm here to keep you alive.
Excellent, excellent. Everyone say hello to. He shuffles nervously in his chair. You can tell that he is maybe new at this. uh, Moonin.
My name is Moonin. I specialize in finding people and dealing with them from a distance.
Handy skills.
Indeed, he's very handy. I've selected him for just such a reason and purpose. And he swallows one of those loud gulping swallows as he looks over at the last party member at the table. Would you care to introduce yourself?
Um, my name is Emrys. I can get in and out of places very easily. No one gets to see me coming.
Um, right. Um, so simply put, your unique skills for each of you, uh, you're designed to troubleshoot problems as we find them. I would pray that it's not harmful, but if need be, you are allowed to use forces necessary to maintain order. And to that, and he starts to shuffle through the mounds of paper, and he's looking for one of the the accordion files as he's opening one. No, and he puts it down and he starts patting the pockets of his coat. Haha. And he pulls out 4 patches, and he hands each of you a patch, and it is marked with the DSD DSD across the top MOM.
You have 4, but there's only 3 of us.
Right. And he kind of like puts the 4th one back into his pocket. Um, we're You're supposed to be 4. We're just having a bit of an issue with the 4th member. But don't worry, they will be along as soon as you're ready to go. And it just so happens I have your first assignment. And as he starts to rifle through the papers again, one of the mountains slides down, and it does that whole like storm of papers that flies up and swirls and drops to there. And he goes, "Oh, I'll get that later." He pulls one out and he unbinds it, and it's not very big. But as he pulls it out, he opens it out, and then he takes several pieces of paper that are clipped together, and he hands each of you one copy of it. This is your briefing. That's how these are done. You do a briefing, and then you answer questions that they may have. So there's your briefing, and and he pulls out some what looks to be like aerial photos of the area, and he hands them to you, and they're large black and white glossy aerial photos, and you can see that they appears to be looking over a small town, uh larger than a hamlet, but not a big place. You can see it's a single street that kind of runs through the middle of it. There's some offshoot streets, but mostly it's just that one main one. um this is a small town north of Innsbruck, on the edge of the German Austria area. It is just outside of the dead zone. Um, that's a dreadful name, but it's just outside of that area. Um, there have been some odd sightings and reports there, and that is what you were supposed to go do, is to find out what is causing the odd sightings and reports. And he flips through the briefing, and he's nervously like flipping through. He goes, um odd sounds, and someone reports seeing a neighbor that was supposed to be dead. Yes, a dead neighbor. Isn't that exciting?
What sort of sounds?
I'm sorry.
You said that there was reports of odd sounds. So what sort of sounds?
He flips through the paper again. Moaning and wailing. Yes, moaning and wailing. I mean, I guess it depends on the context of whether that is odd or not, but it seems odd. But the neighbor, right? Hmm. Oh, okay. Um, did the and he again nervously he dabs at his brow. The trip should take you from here. It's about a day's journey. We'll provide, of course, transport to there as you need, and of course requisition forms. And he says, as he takes out a small stack of paper and hands them to you, and you can see it is that uh carbon paper, so you can fill it out and duplicate, requisition for anything that you would like to have. We have a very small budget, very small indeed, mostly consisting of my paycheck, but we can get you some items if you need them. Is there anything that you have need of?
I'm going to hold up the patch. Does this need to be on display or just on our person?
You um you might want to put those on display, but having them on your person so that you can show them would be fine. I don't know a seamstress, but I'm sure I can find one if you need assistance in putting that on.
I mean, how different is sewing on clothes than on people?
I'm sorry, what? Sewing it on people.
Yeah, sewing on people. How different could it be if it was on fabric?
Oh, um, is stitching people something you normally do? You know what? Irrelevant. I'm overruling my own question. So, uh, any other requests that you may have? I have provided each of you with, and he, this time he takes like a box. You can hear him kind of as he sets the big heavy box on there. You hear the sound of it rattling open, and he rattles a key into a lock and opens it. His hand shaking as he does so, and he pulls out a pistol, a revolver, a breech load revolver. I have one of these for. Oh, sorry. I have one of these for each of you. As he turns the end of it around and hands it. I believe actually, whenever we were talking about character creation, that you already have these in your inventory, but these are where you got them from. As he hands each one of them, one to each of you, and then he takes out a uh, uh, a box of cartridges for each of you, and it's 40 rounds. So each of you already have that in your inventory with one revolver and 40 rounds of ammunition. And he says, that you go. I have well armed you. And I will fill out a missing form for those items later. Anything else that you might need for requisition wise? Um, Food, drink, place to stay.
I assume we will need them
No.
along the way, but as of right now, I think we're good.
Where
Yes.
have we gathered for this
We
meeting? What town?
It is Heidelin, and it's on the border as well. It's just further away from the dead area. So it is actually like you'll be traveling, you won't set foot into the dead zone. You'll be just north of it throughout your entire journey. You'll be able to see it, but
Are we walking to where we're heading?
Oh, heavens no! I have acquired a vehicle for you. Um, one slight complication with the vehicle. I have to drive it.
As long as you know how, I don't see an issue with that.
Oh, have you known it? I'm an excellent driver. I drove the motorcade during the war. Thank you.
Then everything
Um,
should be good.
Excellent. Are we ready to set out then? Or is there anything you need to do prior to us setting forth? All right.
Well,
I've left.
assuming our mysterious fourth will be joining us in the field, I have nothing left to do here before we go.
Yeah, I've left instructions for her, or for them, excuse me, for them to join us. I, I'm sure it'll be fine. I think it'll be okay. Right. If you have your bags, let's go. Actually, and he looks at the pile of paper that has fallen on the floor and the rest of the paper that he has out. I should probably clean this up. And so he takes the next like 30 minutes to clean up all of his paperwork and put it all back in some sort of an order. And you watch as he starts to like take it out to it is definitely a car. It is definitely not what you would expect. It is it has like four it seats all of you. It is definitely not a military or government issue vehicle. It looks like he literally asked somebody, "Hey, you have a car. Can I borrow your car?" And they went, "Yes, but you better bring it back with a full tank of gas, no scratches, and you're the only one that's driving it." And yes,
Oh.
Jellyfant, a 1919 car would have an Awuga
To be
horn.
fair, no one's going to suspect the vehicle with the Awuga horn.
Yeah. If anything, they might avoid it.
That is very true. Um, so as you pack yourself into somebody's family sedan, and he loads his stuff into the trunk. uh, Players, is there anything else that you'd like to purchase? Last second here that you have. You do have requisition forms as long as it's not something completely just out of the ordinary. That is perfectly fine to ask for.
Well, I would have just grabbed the rest of my gear and been ready to go.
All right.
Yeah, she already has like a medicine bag with her, so she's good.
Excellent. Loading into the car, it is actually not a unpleasant ride. Definitely can tell that you're heading west, and this area is part of the war-torn front that was there during the Great War. Uh, every once in a while, detours are made where roads are washed out or bridges have yet to be repaired. It's been about a year and a few months since the actual war itself, but repairs and stuff have been slow. So as you make your way through, though, sure enough, as you drive through, the night finally sets in. You arrive in the town just uh, in the late part of the evening. I would say around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. The moon is high but not full. It is a waxing moon, so you have this nice crescent going on. It is still bright though, and the stars are out. But if any of you players have ever been into a place where there is no light and there is literally just moonlight and starlight, it is really dark. It is really, really dark. That being said, you pull up, you can see some lights ahead of you. One of them appears to be from a tap room or a pub. The sign outside, although written in German, does indeed confirm your suspicions. He pulls the car up and he says, "Wait here. I will secure us a place to stay for the evening." With that, he walks in with pride into the establishment. He is there for about 10 minutes when he walks back out and says, um, "Right, we will find a suitable place to set camp."
Do you not speak German?
It's not that I don't speak German, it's that I am decidedly British. um, if you would like to try your hand, I would not be upset at all. We are a team, after all. Team Apples! You get that this guy has
If we
way
are
more.
going to be a task force for you, we probably should not be flaunting the name around in the streets.
Right. Team Apples. I can I we can try to find a nice place to set camp. I think there's a field over in that general direction.
Did
I
I?
would try, but I'm pretty sure that they're not going to want an elf, or they're very much going to want an elf in their establishment, but I'm happy to try.
Of course. Feel free.
I'll go in with her.
All right. Walking into the establishment, um it is really quiet inside. The scene itself is very somber. The the proprietor stands behind the, or whom you can assume is the proprietor, stands behind the bar. Um, Kind of a thin man. Looks like he's made from clay that's been stretched a bit, so he has this tall, lanky look to him. His skin is not sallow, but it's definitely a little waxy looking. Just somebody who doesn't maybe have the healthiest of diets. Um, as you walk in, he immediately sees you and says to you, "Do either of you, by the way, speak German?"
I do.
It's one
Okay,
of the
both
ones
of
I
you do.
took.
He says something in German, not knowing that you speak German, but he says in German, "Ah, look, the pointy-eared ones."
She turns to Emerus and just goes in English goes, "Ah, I see that my appearance is probably not going to be helpful here, but we'll try it anyway." She then approaches the bar and goes, yes, the pointy-eared ones. I Do you have an issue with that?
The hollowed cheeks drop a bit as his mouth falls open, and he says to you in broken English, "I did not mean to offend. I apologize. How may I be of service to you?"
She responds back in German, considering that his English is not great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we are looking for room and board for the night, maybe a couple of nights, depending on things.
He converses back and forth with you. Uh, all of those watching at home, I think it's great that you all speak German. This guy, not a lick of German. Don't speak any of it. He says back to you using his native tongue. Um, he has a room. How many will you have in attendance?
I'm pretty sure it's 4, but it might be 5.
Um, he asks. You can see him biting back a word before he responds. He says, "Are there any other elves?"
Not that I'm aware. But we are tricky bastards.
He kind of chuckles at the comment. Um, Something alluding to the fact that you dance amongst the trees. Uh, he says, he tells you, he gives you a price, and it seems a little high, but given the state of things, you're like, it's fine.
She
And
looks
you,
over at Emrys just to make sure that that price is okay, considering that, she also tells her in English because she's been conversing in German and she doesn't know if Emrys speaks German or not yet. So she goes and she tells the price and she goes, he did insult
like,
me,
is
so I
that
technically could
fair?
ask for less.
I don't see why not. It's not technically coming out of our pocket, but I'm sure he'd rather the high price once he realizes that the one he just turned away is part of the deal.
True. True. It would be so much fun to get a lower price after he comes back in. But she turns back to the tavern owner and goes, "That's an okay price. We're going to go get our bags."
He nods and seems to set about heading into the back room. As the rest of you, as you go to get your items and come back in, you can see that Colm looks very relieved to hear that you were much more persuasive in your conversation than he was. Um, as he comes back in, the innkeeper comes back around with a tray full of bowls of what appears to be food. It's very thin soup. So it is food in that it has some sort of sustenance to it, although you could probably get a lot more by drinking water just quickly. Um, as long as you, it's one of those situations, if you've ever been to Louisiana, just don't ask what it is and you'll be better off for it. Uh, but he comes back in. He comes back in and sets down the bowls and sets down in front of you. Redeem to hydrate. Hey, we had our first person purchase something. Yeah, everybody hydrate. For those of you who are just joining us, don't forget we have 2 currencies, but 3 ways you can play. You have the Twitch currency, which allows you to do things like tell the party to hydrate. You can also spend them on things like, hey, everybody, say a compliment to one another. We can do all sorts of fun things like stretch and what have you. There are also the claws, which you earn by watching, and you can spend the claws on giving players boon or bane, giving the entire party a boon or a bane, or giving them giving a luck on the next encounter. Unfortunately, players, if you don't use your luck on the next encounter, she go away, she go bye bye. Because I don't want a completely broken game by having everybody give like 17 lucks to one player. So we have to limit things there. Otherwise, it would just be really, really, really skewed in Otter's favor. um,
What?
what? I don't know what you're talking about. He's over there spamming the button to give somebody thousands of claws.
I feel like
The
that'd be
other,
really obvious the first day we roll it out.
I mean, that would be obvious if somebody had a bunch of them because it's supposed to be watching and earning. The other way you can also give those boons and banes is by cheering bits. If you want to drop 100 bits, the price for all of the stuff is in the panels just underneath the video, so you guys can see what the prices are for those things. So feel free to check that out. You can check and join that. If you are a new watcher to the show, make sure to give us a follow. And make sure that you'll get notifications whenever any of our shows, because we have a lot of them going on, go live. So you bring your items back in. As soon as he sees Colm, you watch as his eyes, and he says clearly in German, that tea sipping sap. Uh, and then he goes back and brings out three very heady mugs of beer, and he sets them down. He then disappears and comes back after a few moments, and he sets down a teacup and a saucer and pours something in there that is like a weak brown water. It's like the weakest tea you could ever find in there. Um, Thank you for letting me know that, and I will convey that information right now. I'm sorry, guys. The bits conversion panel, we don't have that up yet. We will get that up soon, though. So in the meantime, just watch, and then you can use the points that you get from us. So, um, yeah. So you watch as a weak cup of tea is set down, to which he, thank you, sits down there and starts to sup as you would at the table. Calm doesn't say much of anything as he starts to. This soup is rather pleasant. You can tell by the grimace on his face that he is. It is not his necessary fare that he enjoys.
Don't leave the city
Other,
much.
to be perfectly honest, this is my first outing. I'm really excited to be in the field with you all. You're actually the first time I've been in operations. Um, you, This is the first time I've had a group to be the handler for. Oh, it's all very new and exciting, isn't it?
Lysandra doesn't say anything. She just takes a sip of beer and is just like, I wonder if there's bread. But does she see the proprietor? Like, can she ask for bread?
Sure. Yeah. The
She
beer is. The soup isn't good. The beer is great.
The beer's about as filling as the bread is.
That is correct. It is a loaf in a mug. So it's just a good, strong German beer. You asked the proprietor for wine, a red, if you will. Uh, no, I'm sorry. Maybe I misunderstood.
I think it was
No,
bread.
she asked for bread.
Oh, bread.
Oh, Brett. Sorry, I completely misheard that. Yeah, he actually comes back and serves a loaf of it's very crusty, but it is soft on the inside, if not a little cold. It's just like room temperature. It's just been sitting out. But it dips easy enough, and you can tear off hunks of it. And it soaks up the soup, as I will call it, very well. You can see that he is the only person in the place at this time. He just kind of seems to be like idly watching you all. He eventually reaches over, though, and turns on a small radio set that is behind the bar. You can hear the very familiar sound of the squelch as it powers up, and the dial is being turned, and eventually it starts playing soft music. Out through the bar. It doesn't fill the bar completely with music, but it's enough there. You can see that the place, maybe in its heyday, was very nice. You can see a small stage set where performers could come up and sit and play. There's actually a piano there that may look like it's in need. It looks like it's in some minor need of repair, or at least a good tuning. Um, the bars and the tables themselves, while most of them have mismatched chairs, they look to be as though they're they're upkept, they're cleaned off and things like that. The bar runs the length, so as you walk in, the bar is to your right, and you can see that it runs the length of that side of the room. There are several bar stools there. All of them are currently pulled up. And he's just sitting there idly. Looks like he's flipping through a magazine or a newspaper. You can hear the paper rustle as the music continues to play. Jellyfin, you're not far off from there. The only difference is they went down the stairs to get in there, whereas they just kind of had to walk in. But yeah. 3 3. So Colm seems to be just enamored with everything that seems to be going on. He looks as excited as he can be, and he sips the. I say he sips the tea. He there's a bit of leaf in there. What is that? Oh, okay. It's
Would you
leaf.
rather this beer? I'm not going to drink it.
I will try. I've never really had a
I'm
beer
gonna push it
before.
towards him. Emrys won't drink it, so I won't drink it.
He takes and sniffs it and goes, huh, and then he takes a big drink of it. He goes, that's different,
If you
isn't
drink
it?
more of it, you might enjoy your tea.
At least you won't taste it.
I feel like I drink this, I won't be able to feel much of anything afterwards. Are you drinking yours? And he continues to like sip it, grimacing after everyone's like,
I'd say I'm probably about halfway through mine.
And you drink this on
Con is
purpose.
high enough.
He
She's
slides it.
first.
Yeah, your tolerance is like beer, boom, whatever. Eventually the radio plays on and you watch as the proprietor says, I'm going to turn out the lights. You will retire, yes. Breakfast in the morning. And with that, he shows you up the staircase to the second floor, to a couple of rooms. You can see there's one off to the left, one off to the right. Each one has 2 beds, and you retire for the evening, setting out your goods. For the evening time, is there any preparations you want to make? Any watches? You just gonna sleep since you're indoors and you can lock the door to your room?
I'm going to disassemble the guns I was given today and make sure they're in proper condition for tomorrow.
All right. Go ahead and give me a dexterity with proficiency as you are just cleaning the guns to make sure you don't jam up any parts. So D20 plus proficiency plus dexterity.
Sure, let's do that one. That's an 18.
Okay. Yeah, easily enough. You've cleaned these guns over and over again. This is not an unfamiliar service revolver. So yeah, you easily clean the weapon, and make sure that it is. And despite it being acquired from munitions somewhere, the armory somewhere, it's actually it's in good condition. It's a nice serviceable revolver.
All these breech loads are hard to break.
Liz is just going to sew the patch on like the inside of the jacket so that if she needs to,
Yeah,
she
so
can
she can
show
just-
it. But for the most part, it's like covered.
Okay.
I'm just going to look over the blades that I have and check over my just inventory and stuff. I asked you if I could have something earlier. Do I have any of that on me?
Yeah, you would.
Okay.
I would assume that it's a common item for you.
Yep.
So,
Checking
all right.
that, making sure everything's sealed. All blades are sharpened. I'd look over the revolver very quickly, but I don't know.
Yeah. Again, familiar with it. It's a standard service revolver used by it's actually a French revolver, but it's commonly used one. It's It's a breech load, so it breaks, and it has an ejection on there that slides the cases. You put the rounds in, and they sit against the plum, and as you break it, the plum pops them out, and so it's just really quickly, easily to load and easy to reload. You would say if you had a mechanic to go with it, it would take a bonus action to reload. All right. As the night goes on, you all finally find yourselves retiring. They're comfortable beds, despite the fact that it is kind of a shabby little place. Lysandra, as you do your trance, in the middle of the night, something odd catches your attention. Give me a perception check, please.
It's 12, but my past perception is 16.
You know what? We'll actually go with your passive since you weren't actively trying to pay attention to something at this point in time, so that's perfectly fine. A strange noise in the distance catches your attention, and as you look, you see a figure wearing white, the moonlight reflecting off of the white of their garments and the white of their hair, white as yours. Uh, she wears a long gown that trails behind her as she moves through the woods. Um, the part that disturbs you is the keening wail, this mournful sound of just devastating loss. It is something that just like makes you almost well up. Your emotions almost overcome by this just wretched sounding thing. Just this mournful sound. And it's not loud. That's the thing that gets you the most. Is it's not like it's loud and you're hearing somebody shouting from a distance. It's just low enough and yet loud enough to kind of permeate the air around you. It's like listening to someone keen and wail off in the distance, and it just really kind of like breaks your heart. Um,
Does she notice elf ears as well, or all that she can notice is that this person is very white from hair to to gowns and everything else?
yeah, you just notice that she's very white, and it's not like she's emitting light. It's just like I said, wearing white clothing in the dark, you're gonna stand out some, and that's kind of how it works. You don't really notice anything about the ears or what have you, but you do hear that, like I said, that distant keening wail, and she's moving in the woods that would be south, which would be in the direction of the dead zone. Um, but you do hear that sound in there. Um,
Is she rooming with another person right now, or is she by herself?
um, I think you're rooming with, well, uh, two of you would be in there, so I can tell you can pick. I'll let you choose if you're rooming with Calm, Emrys, or Moonin. And of course, if they're whatever they want to do.
She's probably rooming with Moonin because they have met before on the battlefield at one point or another, so they
Right.
have some sort of trust. So they
Yep.
probably would have roomed together. So she goes to try to wake him up.
Okay. Depends on how heavy a sleeper Moonin is.
Not at all.
Yeah, okay. So you easily rouse him about. Do you normally wake up out of a startle or anything else like that?
If you're shaking me, there's probably a gun in my hand. But what's up? What's wrong?
Do do you hear that as well? I know that you just woke up, but do you hear that?
Do I hear that?
Now, This is how it works. Yours was a passive because you weren't actively trying to listen for it. However, now that somebody's actively trying to listen for something, I do need you to roll a perception check for me.
Sure. I just woke up. That's a natural 1.
Uh, you don't hear anything except for the, that kind of a sound whenever you wake up there.
Yep. Nope. What What do you hear?
No,
So
why? What do
sad.
you hear?
Like, I just woke up.
Pure sadness. And I I thought I saw a person in the woods.
I will go over to the window and look out the window. Do I see anything outside?
Once again, give me a perception check.
It can only get
Now,
better
would
from
he
here.
because he's looking for something?
I'm sorry, say again.
Would he have advantage because he's looking for a specific thing?
Not necessarily.
That's better. Hold on. Character sheet. New character. Who are you? That's a 15.
Okay, yeah, but you do spot it in the distance. You can hear it now that you see it. It's a figure of a woman, or what it seems to be, wearing a long gown, and it has long hair. You can definitely tell there's just enough detail to tell the break between the two. Um, they have a different color in them. Um, but you can see that it's moving through the woods, and you start to hear it now. Before, it must not have been making a sound, because now you can hear it. Um, it is the sound of heartache and loss. It is the sound of just mourning. It's a low, keening cry or a wail that just seems to break your heart to hear it. Like you want to comfort someone, but it's and you can see it. She doesn't seem to be looking. I will say that where she was moving west to east, she seems to be moving back the opposite direction this time, east to west. And she does seem like she's a little closer than what she was before.
Do you reckon we should look into that?
I was just trying to make sure that I wasn't crazy. I mean, we should probably deal with it. She is getting closer.
All right.
I'll put my gun harness on, put my guns in, and I'll go find whatever room Emrys and our handler are residing and give the door a good knock.
All right. So heading across the hallway, there is a knock. You knock on the door. Calm himself is a log. He does not he does not move at all. But I take it that Emrys is not such a light sleeper. I feel like Emrys is the kind that sleeps with his eyes open.
No, actually, no. He would have been staring daggers at Colm for a good chunk of time, but no, with the knock, he would already be climbing out of bed. If it's something in the middle of the night, he knows something's probably up, so he's probably already getting
Figure
stuff
you got a
on.
knock followed by it's moonin'.
Oh, that makes it even easier. Yeah, I'm already starting to put clothing on when he goes to open the door. Whatever harness I usually wear is being clipped into place.
All right.
A knock in the middle
So
of the
there's a
night.
good conversation going on. There's a great conversation going on the Twitch, and I normally don't interrupt myself, but I'm going to go do that now because I think it's fun. So we're talking about break action or breach load, whatever you want to call it. The same thing happens. You break it and then load it. The actual revolvers that Moonin is using, for those of you who would like to know, I think we actually named them. We actually have the model, right? If I'm not mistaken, I told you the model.
It was
And we
the
are used
Webley, was it not?
the Webley, but there was also the my brain just went blank. It's the Delavine. It's basically the MAS 1873 revolver, better known as the Chemilo Delvine model 1873, which is made famous from the Mummy. That was the revolver that he used in the Mummy.
Caught my attention instantly. Sorry.
So yeah, a lot of conversation went into the development of Munin, specifically because of his role and what he would be doing. So we talked about revolvers and different things and what would be available. And it's really fun whenever you have to cut out the United States because you realize how many manufacturers of firearms you cut out whenever you say there is no United States of America. So goodbye Browning automatic rifle, goodbye Model 19, goodbye the 1917s, goodbye goodbye all of those. Anyway, to divest. Emrys, you crack on the door, and you see Moonin standing there.
There must be a fun reason for a middle of the night call.
Just wanted to say hi. But no, there's
wanna-
a strange lady in white wandering out in the field.
Just stabs you to death.
I was about to say, oh, goodbye then. Click.
There's a lady in white wailing, pacing back and forth outside the building in the field. They seem to be moving closer, so it might be something we want to look into.
Well, from
You
the information we have,
seem to be the sneaky one from what I understand.
yes. Let me gather my things and kick that one out of bed. And I can go take a closer look if you want.
Are you waking up poor Colm? He's had a hell of a day.
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab whatever sheet he's in and pull it off.
Uh-huh.
And if he doesn't come flying out of the bed, or if he doesn't even stir, then I am taking the sheet that he is laying on and pulling him out of the bed with it.
You pull the blanket pull the sheet, and there is a as he falls out. He is wearing his monogrammed pajamas, which you saw him in earlier. They are a beautiful plum color, and they have monogrammed with the big H and a C and an A, for Calm Augustus Haim. Um, so he has his monogram pajamas on. He stands up immediately. Who's that?
Good morning.
Why are
Or
you
good
all
night
dressed
still.
this way?
We've got a wailing woman. So, we're going to go check it out.
Of course. Good luck. I'll be here with what I do best, the paperwork.
You're doing great. So far, by the way.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my best. I appreciate it. Right. I'll be right here. And he goes to sit on the bed, but he's like a little short. Boom, boom, sits down again. His head kind of like flumps back. I'll
I'm
be
going
right
to
here.
extend a hand to help him up.
stands up. You can see that his pride is wounded, but nothing else is harmed on him.
Just a good old quick shoulder pat. And then
Head
I'll
pat.
pat.
There.
Then
Don't be cry.
don't be cry. And then I'm gonna grab my daggers, fit them into place, and then probably a couple smaller things, but then I'll go. Where are we going? She's outside in the field.
Out back.
Woods. More like it.
Lysandra saw it first.
From what you saw, she was probably about having to convert in my head. She was probably about maybe 50 or 60 meters out.
Yeah.
Trying to do the math in my head, going, okay, let's see. Is that too far? No, she's probably closer than that. She's probably about 40 meters out or so. I might just convert to feet because I'm better at that anyways. Anyways, not too far out, but not so close that you can't get to her, or not so close that she's like right out the door. But as you gather your things and you head towards the woods, who is leading the way, and what is your light source? Those of you who can't see in the dock. Thank you for joining us, Jellyfin. It's good to see you again. I know it's been a while, so we're glad to have you back. All right. You can have a traditional torch, or you can have a torch, aka a flashlight.
I feel like I would be using a flashlight.
Yes, I agree. You have one of the big battery pack flashlights, that's basically got the big round dome on the front of it light, and you carry it like this, and it's this big pack that you carry out with you. But it provides an ample amount of light for you to shine and see out there. Lysandra, are you leading the way? Liz, are you leading the way?
Sure, she can see well enough. She's not stealthy at all. Like, she has scale mail on, so she's like really not stealthy. So she's making all of the noise, but she is probably leading the way.
Okay. So as you are heading out in the way, you go towards a direction from where you heard or had seen her going when last Moonin had seen her. The woods in this area are not dense. It's thick enough that you don't want to go running through them, but sparse enough that you can see a pretty good distance through there. Most of them are scraggly looking pine of some kind, or some sort of tree along that line. And further south, as you're looking, you start to see the twisted remnants of dead trees that start kind of the marking of the dead zone there. You're walking along. I would like for everyone to give me perception checks. You are not using your eyes, you're using your ears, so you don't have to worry about taking a disadvantage on the roll.
You said perception?
Yes.
That's a 14 from me.
19.
14, okay. 19.
That's a 23.
Nice. The absence of sound in the area makes it a lot easier for you to determine where there is a sound coming from. There's not even, and it's kind of disturbing. That's one of the first things that you notice, Moonin, is you don't hear wildlife. Like at night, you would expect to hear something. It is still and quiet. The keening wail starts to pick up again, and you can hear it off in the distance. It doesn't sound terribly far, but it's still that kind of a soft, mournful noise.
Can I pick out the solid direction it's coming from then?
With the 23, you can. It seems to be coming from the southwest. And if you remember, I said when you saw her, she was heading east back towards the west.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to be coming from further into the dead zone, the dead area. All right, Raymond just said, everybody stretch. So we're going to take a quick second, stand up, and stretch.
Like move out of my seat.
Oh, everybody stand up and stretch. Oh, gosh, that actually feels good. All right. See, isn't this fun?
That was much appreciated.
Yeah, it was. How's your back, by the way?
Oh, I just had
I can see
all of the cracks in my back when I stretched there. That was lovely.
I might not stand
Now-
up next time. I may just do it in my chair and just like I grab the bars here and just kind of like move my back some. All right.
Now, would we have noticed that there was a lack of sound earlier because we were close to the dead zone, or is this is this lack of sound new?
It's not new, but you weren't paying attention to it as much as the odd sounds. So it was more like that keening wail is so out of place that you noticed it. It wasn't until you were in the woods that you noticed, oh, wait, there's not a whole lot of wildlife here.
No, I mean when we first came into the tavern, when we
I
first
got you.
arrived.
You really weren't. It's not something that you would pay attention to, like right offhand. So you really didn't notice it. Mostly because you were kind of like in the town, so you're like, shouldn't have been anything. But you are definitely aware that there is not a lot in the way of wildlife right now. As a matter of fact, there's nothing in the way of wildlife right now. But yeah, she sounds like she is definitely coming from the southwest.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if it's moving. It doesn't seem to be like giving you a Doppler where it's like moving past you or anything else like
Just
that.
it's
So
that general direction.
mm-hmm.
And I'll relay that to Lysandra if she is leading the group.
And I take it you're using your big flashlight to kind of shine your way so you don't trip over things.
Yep.
All right.
Flashlight in one hand, revolver in the other.
All right. As you start to move forward, you can sort of make out the figure. You're getting closer. You also, Liz, you see that, or Liz, you see this before the rest of them, given your advantage with your dark vision. You see several, like 5 or 6 piles of stone that seem to be going from bigger rocks to smaller ones. They're probably about maybe 3 or 4 feet high. So they're not very tall. And again, you just kind of notice that there's like 6 of them, and they seem to be arranged a little equidistance apart. Given your background, give me a religion check.
It's a 10.
A 10?
10.
That's easy enough still, though. You recognize these as cairns. stones placed in honor or memoriam or for burial purposes. It looks like these were a place where people were laid to rest. Not Karens. Cairns. I don't have that much of an accent. I know that. So
She
you be
would
quiet over there.
stop before like she got like too terribly close to them, and she'd like kind of like she wouldn't say anything because she's still like, even though that she's not stealthy, she wants to be stealthy, so she'd just be like holding up like a hand and like waiting for the rest of her party to like get there to her.
All right. So you let the party catch up. All right. As the party catches up, you can see that she is there. Don't need a perception check. You can see her. She is currently kneeling in front of one of the piles of stones, and she has her head in her face in her hands, and that low keening wail, that mournful cry, just seems to roll across all of you.
She would like to use her Eyes of the Grave as an action to see if it is undead.
Okay, so as an action, you determine if an item is, or if a creature is dead or undead.
As an action, you know the location of any undead within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover and isn't protected from magic until the end of your turn.
Most decidedly, she be undead.
She then relays this information to the rest of the party and is all like, she's undead, probably one of these people, maybe. I'm not really sure yet. I mean, she's definitely like praying to whatever that is, it seems like, but she's undead. I don't know what you want to do with that information.
Well,
Were we not?
some of the information we did have say somebody saw their dead neighbor. Perhaps her then? Something would have to bring her back, though, wouldn't it?
It would make sense.
Do we want to go approach her? Or do you want me to go take a look at what she's in front of?
I've got a. How far are we from this individual?
Right at, I would say you're within range of Liss's dark vision, so you're at least 60 feet. Given how much she can see, you're probably closer to about 40 feet away from her.
Oh, I'm well within range then, so.
You were well within range to fire on something. You are correct.
I have a pretty good line of sight from here. If you can get a closer eye and possibly see what it's doing before we engage, that'd probably be beneficial.
Yeah. You said there were 5 of these, right? Yeah.
There
like
are
5 that she's like, but there's one that she's standing in front of particularly.
correct. There are 5 of the total piles of stone. I'm not going to say it again, but there is only one that she is kneeling in front of. Fine.
How are they?
Cairns.
How are they positioned? Are they in like a circle? Sort of zigzagged?
No. There is a line of 3 that are 6 feet apart, and then 6 feet forward from that are 2 more. So you have 3 and then 2.
Okay, and we're closest
And you're closest to the 2, and
Okay.
she is kneeling at the one on the right.
The two-
Bliss would also touch Emerus and just be like, be stealthy. She's used guidance on her, so she has a D4 for her next roll. Just be stealthy.
Yeah, he'll take it. Because I'll forget that if I don't put a D4 aside.
Good choice.
You know me.
Are you sneaking up on this unfortunate
Not
soul?
close enough to get close to this ghost, but I am definitely getting close enough to at least see what she's in front of.
All right. And as you start to make your way there, we are going to take a quick break. So thank you all for tuning in. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to stand up. We're going to get our stretch on again, refill our drinks, whatever you need, whatever we need to do. We'll be back in, what do you think, Otter? 10 minutes? 10 minutes sound good?
Yeah.
10 minutes? All right. We'll be back in 10 minutes. The countdown timer will be there. We'll be back. Come around, share this channel with everybody, start giving us a follow. If you'd love to, we'd love to see you here every Monday. And I'm going to stop talking, otherwise I'll continue to talk. So we'll see you back in about 10 minutes. Thanks, guys. Hey, welcome back, everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing. So before we broke off, they heard a strange sound that was going on within the woods. The party gathered together, waking up a sleepy calm to go investigate this wailing, keening woman that they heard out there. Um, the As the party got close enough, they noticed a small organization of rocks, cairns, not Karens, cairns, and they they saw this weeping figure near there. Um, and they said to that they wanted to waiting for you to get that straight in the stream there. They said that Emrys is going to step forward and try to figure out what's going on sneakily. Before taking off, though, Lysandra put a hand on the shoulder and said, "Do so quietly," giving guidance. Emrys, as you are about to step forward, how do you want to approach this? How stealthily do you want to go? And what are we doing?
Good question. I'd like to. I'm going to guess that there's really nothing I can get behind that would be behind her, because it's like open the 2 and then the 3, and she's at one of the 2, right?
Yes, if you look there, I actually have her laid out where you can see her.
Okay. Stealthy enough that if she does turn, there is something I can get behind. I'd like to get behind it, but
There are some like scraggly trees and broken pieces around that you can kind of hide behind.
okay, then I'd like to do that.
I'm just going to
Sure.
hop in here real quick because I just got called out in chat for a party appreciation for the DM. I just want to say I appreciate the work you put into that lore dump at the beginning. It really set the tone for all of this. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to go ahead and compliment all of you for all of the thought and things that you put into the character. But specifically, again, I cannot state enough, Otter, and I'm going to extend this out because Q has really stepped up as well. So, Otter and Q, thank you for all of the extra work that you guys have put in behind the scenes with designing this and getting things picked out and um, getting all of this arranged and making sure that this was there. Yeah, I know I went, that font, no, not that font, yeah, that works. And then, yeah, that color, not that color. But you guys working, and yeah, I've noticed every time that I've seen you guys like chatting in there live, and I'd like hover over the live to see Otter's screen up, and
Yeah.
I'm like, ah, I know what they're doing as they're working on stuff. So thank you for all of that hard work you guys have put in. I really, really, really appreciate it. So yeah. So all right. So yeah, as you can see, she is right there at
Oh,
that cairn.
sorry, I didn't even.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. If
Hey,
there are,
hey, look at that.
yeah,
There's a person there.
it's like, damn.
Holy shit, would you look at that?
That's me. Okay. Yes.
That is you.
If I can, then I will try and stay in the trees as much as I can.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing you would like a stealth roll for that.
Man, I sure would. I want to see how well you do.
Ha. Okay. That is a What was mine? That is a 25.
25.
It's not a nat. It
In the
was
darkness.
Close.
With the D4 though, right?
Yeah, it was a 16. No, it was a 17. 3 on the D4 plus 5.
Nice. Yep. You disappear into the brush, into the deadfall trees, and into this mire, making your way. You even do so much as to like you kind of sift your feet through a little bit of the wet that's there so that you don't make a sound and your feet just sort of glide across the stuff there. For those of you who don't forget, there are two types of points. You have the claws and the twitch points. You can always tell us to hydrate, stretch, pay compliments, things like that. Anyways, I was saying that because I was lifting my glass because hydrate. You get closer and you can see that she doesn't. It's not that she's glowing, but she has this etherealness to her. Her hands are in her face is in her palms, and she is racked with sobs. You can see her shoulders shuddering, rising and falling, and you can see that it was there. But what strikes you most as you get close enough, how close are you going to get? Are we talking like Biden on the shoulders close?
What you looking at? No.
While I'm at it, don't forget to vote. Sorry.
Close enough that I can see what she's looking at, but not alert her to the fact that I'm there. So,
Okay. Her attention seems to be paid completely to the pile of stones in front of her.
okay.
But you do get close enough. You can kind of make out some of the things that she's there. Unfortunately, I have to remind myself of something.
While we got a quick second,
Mhm.
thank you, Captain Paragon, for trying out the new claw currency. We have a boon given to Emrys.
And that means that I get to choose the boon that Emrys gets.
Okay. Thank you.
Emrys,
Yes.
during the next encounter,
Okay.
you will have a +1 to all your attack rolls and damage rolls.
Ooh.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm sending you a real quick question.
Yes. Where do
And
I
you can
put
answer.
this so I actively remember? No.
Thank you. It is hard to make out what is going on with her because of the fact that it is so dark. It just looks like she is standing in front of a particular memorial and is just wailing into her hands, sobbing. You're unfortunately, with it being dark and you're not really being able to see unless you're going to turn your flashlight on.
Yep.
You're not real sure.
Then I would like to try one more thing just to see if movement will actually catch her attention. Is there any a decent sized maybe a stick or a rock? A rock preferably.
Yeah,
if
there's
I can.
Yeah, you can find a decent sized stone. But
I'd like to throw it, and if I can, I would like to throw it like well over. Is that color? Sorry.
You're trying to throw it like past her over the cairns.
Somewhere hopefully into the trees. If it's going to like hit and like maybe snap a tree branch, a small tree branch or something like that, just to see if it will
I
get her
mean,
attention and she'll move away from it.
are you trying to throw it past her or just off to the side or?
Like past her and off to the side.
Okay. Go ahead and just give me an athletics check. It's a easy DC.
See a 12?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
perfectly fine. You kind of like wait for a second and then you heft it off into the distance. It doesn't hit a branch, and what it does is it strikes off of one of the trees and makes kind of that hollow thunk sound as it
Okay.
does, and you hear it spot into the muck. Um, she stops, and her head picks up, and you can see her hair floats as though she were underwater and it floats behind her. Her head doesn't turn easily like yours. Instead, it jerks and twitches and twists. And as she does, you watch as she moves, and you realize that her feet and the edge of her gown aren't touching the ground. They're just right above it. And
Okay.
her form, her hands, you can see are these bone white things, the skin pulled taut over them. They end in jagged fingernails. Uh, you catch a corner of her face, and for a second, a scream bubbles up, only to be caught in your throat and your head. Your eyes widen, your hair stands on end, and I need you to give me a saving throw.
Okay.
That is going to be a wisdom saving throw, please.
Oh. Boy! It's off. Sorry. It's a 10.
I'm sorry?
10.
10. Coming this close to some otherworldly preternatural creature. This doesn't belong here. Your mind takes a slight break from everything as you are absolutely terrified. You fight back the scream. Give me another wisdom saving throw, please.
15.
You are able to choke off, shoving your fist into your mouth. You are able to choke back the scream from just this horrific visage that you see. It is absolutely terrifying as you watch her mouth is distended and it seems to hang open and it has no teeth. It's a hollow hole in the middle of her face. Her eyes are puffy with tears and her body just seems to be this emaciated thing as she floats off towards where the rock is. And you hear that keening wail again from her, just as she moves away from you towards where the rock went.
So note to self, I hated that. Okay. Um,
Just a Michael Scott. Nope, don't like that.
don't like that. That can. Uh, with her moving away, I want to take a quick look at what she was standing in front of.
hmm
Very quick. If there's a name on it, I'll catch the name, and I'm going right back. Yeah, not today, Satan. Not today.
All right, you go to take a quick look at it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's nothing written
Okay.
on the stone. However, there are totems.
Okay.
You can see what appears to be a hat that is it's got a slightly rounded crown and a brim that's not wide, but it's kind of larger than like say a trilby or like the hat that Moonin wears. Um, and you can see that it has a band around it that has a small uh what you can only assume is like a peacock feather in it, but you
Okay.
can see that there has been some damage. The brim of it is worn. Next to it, though, sits the and it looks like it's made for an adult, by the way,
Okay.
because next to it sits a small uh, child's toy. It looks like a bear or some sort of stuffed animal. Um, you can see that it has a tear in it, and it's missing. It's missing one of the eyes and one of the ears, and you can see some cotton batting coming out of where the ear is missing. Um, but those are the only things that you see. The rest of the cairns, they don't seem to have anything on them that you can see like in the dark.
Okay. Then with that information, I'm going back to Sandra and Moonin.
Hey, another stealth check, but you have disadvantage because you is a frightened.
16.
Okay, you start to make your way back to the party. As you do so, you two that were hanging back, Liz and Moonin, you heard the rock and something thump, and you watched the figure look up, her head jerking away, and she started to move away towards wherever it is. You're just far enough away that you couldn't really see its face. However, your friend comes trotting back to you and explains what he has found. It is at that point in time that you see behind Emrys moving in your direction this figure, but it's not a steady movement. It's quick, stops, the head turns, and it starts towards you again. And it's a quick darting movement every time. It seems to cover the span of a few feet in just a blink of an eye. It doesn't blink out of existence and move forward. It just seems to drift quickly from one spot to the next. And before you know it, it is within just a few feet. 30 feet away from you, you can see it. And it is at this point in time that you see the distended face, the hole where a mouth should be, this face that looks like it is stretched out and starting to melt. The terrible visage looks at you, takes in a deep breath, and I need a wisdom saving throw from all of you.
I would have told in great detail about that's unnatural. Basically.
That's
You do have Hold on 1 second.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. It is important for me to note that Emrys, you have disadvantage on the saving throw.
Okay.
All right, Otter, how did Moonin do?
I rolled a 19 with a +3.
You are not shaken by the visage of this horrible creature. Liz?
I rolled a 9 plus 6, so 15.
You are not shaken by the visage of this creature. And then, how did Emrys do?
15.
You are no longer shaken or frightened, emboldened by your allies. You are all immune to the fear that she would put forth, at least for the next 24 hours. But you have a larger concern. She appears as though she would like to rend you apart. With that, my friends, roll initiative. If you are using, let me know what your initiative is, and I'll put you in the tracker order so that way we can keep turns on that.
Can I do this? Okay.
Also,
20.
you can. Also, as I throw you in the turn tracker, if you are on roll 20, you can actually modify your own roll once I've got you there.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. You said you had a 20. Awesome. Liz or Emrys, who would like to go first?
I vote Liz.
I was about to say ladies
Okay.
first.
Sounds like Alyssa's going first then. All right. The order is up, and you can see her. She is now roughly, I'm going to move you slightly, Emrys.
Yep.
That way we have a more appropriate look there. 5, 10, 15, 20. Yep, she is 20 feet from you. And it is your turn, Lys. You can see her there.
So this is the first time I've been playing a cleric, but my channel divinity turn undead. Can I? It says as an action I can do that. So can I
That is
do that now?
absolutely correct. You absolutely can.
Okay, so I'm going to do the channel divinity as an action. I'm going to present my holy symbol, and each undead that can see or hear me within 30 feet must make a wisdom saving throw of a DC 14.
All right. You hold your symbol aloft and it shines with divine energy. And as it does, she recoils from it. And you can see that she is shaken by your faith. Does she make her move, or is it on her turn that she must move away from you as much as she can?
It says if it fails the saving throw, it is turned for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. A turn creature must spend its turns trying to move as far away from me as
On
I
its
can,
turn.
and it can't willingly move to a space within 30 feet of me. It also can't take reactions.
Perfect. Perfect. So on her turn, she will book it. Unless she takes any damage. And I'm sure you're going to tell your allies she is on the run.
I will
Any
say that
bonus
she is
action
on
you
the
would like
run
to take?
for a minute. I would just say she's on the run for a minute. That's my bonus action, is I'm telling my party that.
Perfect. All right, Emrys, it's your turn. You're no longer shaken by this creature.
Gotta shake it off. That's all.
Shake
I think
it
I
off.
guess.
Shake it off.
Hmm. Seeing as I work better with just a little bit of surprise, I won't attack. I am just going to take the hide action and just sort of stealth a little bit, hide myself
Okay.
away from her view.
Okay, go ahead and give me that stealth check.
That is a 16.
All right, and you dive behind the nearest tree, rock area that you can, so you can get out of sight.
Mhm.
And is that your action?
That is. Oh,
Okay, that
yep,
brings.
that is.
Mhm. Okay,
Sorry.
that brings us to Moonin.
I am just going to take aim and hold my action for when it turns around.
Okay, so
Or when it starts to
turns
come back.
Okay. Excellent. So, as you do so, that is your turn, and she will move all of her movement, all of the movements, which is a significant amount. It is 80 feet of GTFO that she is doing. Like, she seems to leave the map. She runs off into the woods and continues to do so for the next 1 minute. That is another 9 rounds from this one of her just moving at 80 feet every turn. 9 times 80 is a lot.
There she go. Bye bye.
Sounds like we have
There
time to explore the area.
Yeah.
Now, was she see-through, or did she seem like she had like a solid part of her?
She seemed ethereal. She seemed incorporeal, almost like you could see through her, but it was kind of like fading in and out.
Liz looks back at the two of them and goes, I think we should go to bed and deal with this in the morning.
Do we want a better look at what she was doing before we leave, seeing as she's really far away?
720 feet by the time your minute is up. So that means that she needs to move another 720 feet, which would take her like a whole other minute to get back.
Well, we can take a quick look at the stuff, but I feel like, would I have a sense that she wouldn't be there in the morning? Have all the things that we've heard been that she's been here at night?
I don't know if we got that specified before.
Did we not get that
Nope.
specified? Okay, I wasn't sure if we did or not. I apologize. Time for a drink.
Drink!
Because Liz has or is proficient in religion, I guess she should probably go and look and see what she was looking at a closer look to see if she can figure out anything else.
Sure. I'd like for you to give me actually 2 different religion checks.
But one is an 8 and one is a 9.
Oh.
You don't know what that was. And it looks like she was mourning whatever this is a pillar of. I'm loving the puns. Exercises regularly, raising your spirits. Good job. All right.
I think Lysandra's right. We should probably rest for the evening and then well,
Oh, a party boon has been declared. And the party boon will actually be some insight into what they were just seeing.
ah,
Party. A keening wail, a horrible visage, a ghost-like apparition that floats just above the ground as though there were no feet. Any guesses?
Banshee.
That would be correct. Your religion check was going to tell you that it was a banshee. Well done. Now, as you investigate the cairns, you can see that there's not really any significance to them. You can think they're probably the burial spots for some people. The one that she was at, you already know, had what appears to be the hat that belonged to a man and a doll that belonged to a child. And so with that, you return back to your rooms. Is that correct? Is there anything else you'd like to do out here in the wilds at the middle of the night? No, thank you, George. All right, making your way back to your room. Emrys, as you open the door, Calm hastily sits up from where he was sitting, leaning against the base of the bed. He sits up quickly. I wasn't sleeping, I promise.
it's okay. And then I would go into everything that happened. If he needs help writing it down, I will help write it down.
Yeah, he quickly and hastily makes notes about what you saw and asks questions over and over again. Not over and over again because he didn't understand it, but making sure he has the details properly. Um, and you can see that he's not just writing it on a piece of paper. He seems to be writing it like on a form that has like specific things that he can fill out. Um, After he finishes writing down the notes that you have given him, he takes his book and he starts cross referencing with a book that he has in his hand. And as he's doing so, he stops and closes it. You said it looked ethereal, is that correct? Like supernatural?
Yes.
It's not going to be in this one. And he goes over to a particular attache and he opens it, and you can see that it has several books in it. And he starts looking through, this one. And he starts looking through there and flipping through and cross referencing. And then he turns it and shows it to you. And you can see that it is a rough drawing of roughly what you saw. It's as though a secondary or tertiary person described it to the artist, and then they drew it. But it does indeed have it listed as Banshee, and there are several points in there that he cross references on there with what the information that you have given him. And he goes, "That's quite interesting. None of you were affected by a wailing sound. I mean, you're all alive."
Yes, we are, but I mean, I felt a great sense of fear and dread, but none of us were taken out by a whale.
Indeed. Oh,
But Bliss just seems to like look off in the distance and is just like very like shell shocked, not there for a minute, because in her mind she's thinking back onto the battlefield, and it's very much like she's kind of heard worse.
Mm-hmm. Is it your goal to try to track it down tomorrow during the daylight hours? Oh. Hmm. He turns the book to you to see, and it definitely starts to mention some of the things about it. And one of the things that it does mention is that they are a nocturnal creature.
Well, then tomorrow, instead of looking into the Banshee, I would say we should look into other information. Someone said they saw their dead neighbor. Do we have that person's name?
Indeed we do. And he looks through there and he hands you what appears to be like an affidavit, or not an affidavit, but a witness form. And it talks about, it asks questions and gets the information. There in the main road, you do get the name of the individual. It's not far up the street according to the numbering on the houses. Um, he says, "So we should investigate this further tomorrow. I need to make some phone calls and find out if there's some extra attention that we can get to this particular place. So I will leave this matter in your hands while I handle all of that." Excellent. Well, I suggest everyone gets a good night's sleep. Well done on your first foray. It's exciting. I would toast you all, but it is extremely early. Good night, all. And with that, you retire, receiving a long rest and the benefit thereof.
Oh, my boon is gone.
The next morning, what's that?
My boon is gone.
I
just remembered, but I remembered at least. It's okay.
Hey, good job.
Mhm.
The next morning, you awaken and have breakfast in the main, and while the evening fare was not much to talk about, it seems like breakfast is a much heartier serving around here. And the tavern is actually has some patrons other than you. You again see the very lean and tired looking innkeeper or tavern keeper. He greets you as you sit down, and he serves what it will stand as a standard breakfast in this area. Uh, the people that come in and out seem to be salt of the earth folk, um, but they all seem to have sort of a like mournful or baleful look about them. They seem to be just very it's a look that a lot of you have seen, especially given the fact that you are fresh out of a war. It is the look of a people who have pretty much lost everything and are trying to rebuild on this. Most of them seem to be uh, field hands or workers out in the different fields and grasses or grasslands and things. You can see a few of them appear to have more skilled labor. Like you see a one of them that comes in is wearing a heavy leather apron, and you can see a hammer or two in their belt. More than likely a blacksmith or farrier. Um, you also notice a couple who are a couple of who are standing around one another at the bar, and they seem to have, excuse me, a kind of a rather large, fluffy hound with them, um, who is just kind of laying at their feet. Whenever somebody enters, it lifts its head, its long ears kind of half perk, and then it lays its head back down on its paws, its long snout giving the indication that it's some sort of herding hound or something. The three men get up and they call out to the dog, which follows them, padding along softly behind them as they leave. You can smell lanolin on their clothing and skin as they walk by, giving you the indication that they're sheep herders, um, shepherds, if you will. Eventually, the tavern itself starts to thin out with people going about their job. You pay for your stay and your meals, and as you take towards the address on your paper, several of the townsfolk are kind of keeping a watchful eye on you. It's not so much wariness as it is more curiosity at the group. Once again, finding the address is not difficult. The house itself is darkened. Um, the shutters are drawn and the door is closed, and there are what appear to be symbols etched in the framing of the door. Not etched, they're drawn on with something that looks as though it is dried a brownish, brackish color. Easily the indication the three of you would immediately spot it and know that it is blood. So there are symbols drawn on the door frame in blood.
What kind
Would
of
any of us
symbols?
know what those symbols are?
Religion checks.
Uh,
Shouldn't ask that because I don't know a whole lot about that.
19.
I'm not going to test it.
Five.
They are 5. Moon's like, that's blood.
Yep.
They are ancient, and when I say ancient, they are it's warding magic that you know is tied to the divine side of magic. You're very familiar with it. It is not of an order that you yourself follow. It is older than that, more shamanistic or paganistic. But they are wards of protection on this house. The thing that gives you more concern is that they are not wards to keep stuff out. They are binding wards as though to keep stuff inside.
Yay!
They are all
She-
intact, by the way.
She looks at her party members and goes, I'm not sure if we want to go in this house.
Don't have to go in. We can just knock, see if someone will answer. Also, this is gonna
I'm
be
not
real
sure.
quick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm also not sure if we want to touch this house.
Hmm.
She's trying to come up with the right words for what she's trying. You can see her stumbling on her English almost. She finally goes, something's being kept in, but it's in a mixture of Norwegian and English.
Oh, your words are mixed with English and Norwegian? Yeah.
I'll catch the
Hey.
English.
I catch
I'll
both
catch
sides
English.
of that.
Merce only knows English, French, and Common. And German. Sorry. English, Common. Yeah, my brain's done. Okay.
All right. So you, seeing as the conversation could be, you watch as Moonin perks up when you start slipping between the two languages of mixing things with Common and Norse or Norwegian. It's an old, again, like I said, Moonin. She conveys to you the fact that it's an old magic invoking runes and wards that are binding things to this location, keeping them held within.
I don't like this house.
And I only know half of the story. What?
um,
Uh,
I will fill in the blanks in Common or English.
thank you.
That there seems to be bind runes on the entrance, and by the look of it, they seem to be trying to keep something within the house.
Because you two actually are of that, one of the wards that, well, actually, since Moonin is, one of the wards is a Nordic rune that is tied to Helheim or Hel,
Mm-hmm.
which you know is the Norse underworld.
So, my God,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I would have known that as well.
Yes, you would have. You definitely would know that.
I will relay
that was the DM
to.
going, oh yeah, that's right.
I will relay that to Emrys as the only one who didn't notice.
Hey, I'm not perfect, okay?
I'm just looking between the two of them, just he gets it. I can tell that he gets it. She gets it. I don't get it. So
You two are on point. Me? Yeah.
me, I'll just take a seat on the steps. It's fine. Benching me right off. Okay. No. So the person we need to talk to or want to talk to lives here. But this place is holding something in and not letting it out.
That seems to be the case.
If I do a quick look around the house, can I see that there are symbols on every window, or things like that. Just doing a quick glance just to see if I can pick out symbols like that were on the door frame.
Give me an investigation check.
Me forgetting what my investigation is.
It's a number based off your intelligence, and if you're proficient with it, you have proficiency to add to it.
Not in that one. But that was actually a decent roll. 16.
Sure enough, the shutters are closed.
Okay.
But looking underneath, like peering at them, you can see symbols drawn on the windows and on the rear door that's there. There's also the good old fashioned cellar door that sits down in there. You can see that it has been like a bar has been pushed through it and it is locked. However, it does not seem to have the symbols on it.
Okay.
Or more importantly, it may have had the symbols on there at one time because you can see remnants of stuff, but it looks like something has wiped them or marred them or in some way broken their enchantments.
Okay. Then I will go back to the front. I'll let them both know what I found. Symbols on windows all around. Looks like if there was some on the cellar doors, they're gone now.
Well, if something was being held here, it may not be anymore.
I'm particularly good at sensing if there are other things in buildings. Do either of you have those talents?
I can sense if there's an undead in the building, but that's about it.
Nope. That's not quite my wheelhouse.
Then, do we test our luck and knock?
I would vote knocking on the door that doesn't have the symbols. Do you want me to knock?
I can knock if you don't feel comfortable. I'm just asking if we should. I'm not knowledgeable on these.
God would protect me. I go to knock. I knock on the door. The door that doesn't have any symbols on it.
So you go around to the back to the cellar door that's there. You pound on it because it's big cellar doors that kind of like so boom, boom, boom. There's no answer, and again, you can see that there's a bar and it's locked like a longer bicycle lock thing. But you can see it's still locked, and the lock doesn't seem to be damaged. You bang on it and you wait for a second, and there's does seem to be a sound.
She like takes a deep breath and goes, "We'll try the front door. We'll try the front door. We'll just try all the doors." So she goes to knock on the front door.
Okay. Again, you knock on the door. You wait for a few moments. No answer.
Can she go back to the cellar door and see if there were wards there at some point?
Yeah, I would have said that whenever
Yeah.
I came back around. 'cause
You
I
did
found
notice
some.
that there were some. It looks like they've been
Okay.
wiped off or removed in some way.
She then goes, I am not strong, but do we want to break this door down?
May I suggest that there's a lock? I'm decent with locks. Before we
I
really
mean,
make
I
a
guess.
ruckus. Just because there are neighbors to this house, right?
Yes,
Like
there
there's
are.
two
They're
houses,
not
they're not
like
just one.
want to go and talk to the other neighbors before we just barge into this house?
We could.
Probably a good idea before we break in.
Before performing a B&E, please talk to the neighbors.
Yes.
All right.
Well- We have knowledge on the one neighbor not being alive anymore, right?
Well, he said I saw a neighbor, not
A
necessarily.
neighbor, not that
Yeah,
it was like next door to him. Okay.
correct.
Then to neighbors' houses.
To the neighbor's house we go. All right. On the left is a small cottage. It looks like it could hold like a couple. Not a whole lot there to it. You see a garden that looks like it supplies them with everything that they need. And oddly enough, do any of you have survival or nature? Either one.
Nope.
I'll let you give me a roll for either or survival or nature.
All of us?
Sure, absolutely.
16.
Only if it's trained, or just in general, everybody?
No, I'll let you do it in general.
An 11.
We're gonna
Okay.
do survival.
I did nature and I only got an 11.
I did survival with a 16.
I did survival with a 7. I'm gonna stop using that die now.
That die goes in the hole.
Yep.
Moonin, you really don't notice much of anything. You're still kind of like, I wonder what that house was all about.
Just thinking about symbols, runes.
Yep, you're thinking about runic symbols and things. Emrys, something seems off about the house, but you're not quite sure what it is. It isn't until Liz points it out. There's a dead zone, and most of this area is not necessarily that it's dead, but it doesn't seem to be as vibrant, except this house. This house, lots of vibrancy. The garden, the little garden that they have, it's growing well. The earth here smells very loamy, very very rich. You can actually smell that. You see that the house is in really good condition. You approach through a little gate with a hedgerow around it. As you approach the house, the door to the front of it opens out, and a portly child steps forward. At least you think it's a portly child until you realize that it is not a child. It is a very short man, a halfling to be more direct. He has his sleeves rolled up, and you can see staining on his fingers that appears to be from some either dark ink or dirt or something like that, but it's stained on his fingers. As he steps forward, he says to you in German, but again, I don't speak German. How can I help you?
Liz is still feeling like she is probably the only one who knows German. She doesn't know if Muna knows it or not, but she just goes, "We want to know about your neighbor."
He looks left and right to determine which one. The one that you want would be on the left side of his house. You mean this one?
Either.
He looks to the house that you walked from that had all of the markings on it. They are quiet. They say not a whole lot. Keep to themselves. I haven't seen them in days, and I'm here in the garden all the time.
We were told that they have seen neighbors that shouldn't be here anymore. Do you know anything about that?
He looks around for a moment. No, it's. I just worry about my garden. I don't interfere with others.
Does he know anything about the symbols covering the house? The runes?
I assume you asked that in either English or Norwegian.
I'm gonna go Norwegian.
Okay, so she then asks the halfling in German if he knows when the symbols were put up or if he knows anything about the symbols.
He looks back and forth between the two of you and then switches to speaking with you in Norwegian. I put the symbols there. Several days ago, I heard something coming from there. There was a smell. Before that, there was strange lights in the evening. I don't know what's been happening around these parts, but I'm worried about them. I think that there is something going on in there, a sickness, and I don't want it spread. I kept it in there by marking the doors. Some damned fool came by and wiped away the markings on the cellar. So I locked it so that nobody could get in, and preferably, if there is something, it wouldn't come out. Of course, it won't prevent you from getting across the threshold. So, and as you know, because you wear your symbol openly, don't you?
Yes, she does.
And as you know, your god doesn't prevent the living from moving, only the dead. He he steps back and he says, "If you want to investigate, perfectly for you, I'm going to stay in here. The wailing at night is enough to drive me nuts. I don't want to get mixed up in anything more."
She's also going to ask about she's going to compliment and ask about his garden as well.
Emerus is like, um, he looks to you and he says, I I dabble in some minor magics. Nothing audacious, just enough to keep my garden looking good. You got to keep a low profile from the directorate. You don't want somebody knocking down your door telling you can't do those things.
We certainly
But
wouldn't want that.
indeed,
Does she get any sense that he's like using magic for like bad practices or anything, or does she just seem like he's harmless?
it seems like he's literally just using some minor magics to do exactly what he says, keep his garden looking good. Who are you with again? Sorry,
I got a letter and now we're like apples or something, but she says apples in Elven because she's like forgotten the word.
forgotten the word. He just kind of looks at you, not knowing Elvish, so he's like, um, but he asks if there's anything else he can help you with.
She looks at Moonin and goes, I don't think so. And then she turns to Emerus and speaks in English, kind of relaying what's happened and if she can think of, or if he can think of anything that maybe this half elf can do. Also, she's now realized that she's never like asked for this half elf's name and she feels kind of bad.
Halfling. Yeah, so Emrys, you the halfling just says that he's there tending to his garden and the neighbors were gone.
I was just waiting till everyone was done, so I was be like, so, what's the story? I knew the language, but feels like I have to learn another one. Especially with these two. How tall is Moonin and Lysandra, just to get my brain going?
6'2".
Okay.
She's pretty short for an elf.
Okay.
Like, especially for like a high elf. So she's only like 5'4".
Oh wow, I didn't expect Emrys to be taller than her. Okay, yeah, that's sorry.
Oh
I was
boy,
just like
how tall is Emrys?
5'5" on a good day.
Hmm.
He's a small boy.
He's a
So,
small baby.
so Moonin's just looking down at Moonin's crouched down and he's doing that thing where he's like crouched down and talking eye level.
It took
will
everything. It took everything in my being not to say that when you were like, a halfling opens the door. Well, hello,
Just
friend.
be crouched. Well, aren't you just the cutest little dude?
Emrys just pulling him by a strap back away from this halfling, like, no. No,
That's
I
not
can't
how
think
we
of
talk to the short folk.
You
do
lift
that
them
thing.
by the scruff and you go hello.
So Moonin's staying on the sidewalk next time. Like
Okay.
back on the street.
Moon is not allowed to speak to anybody else. All right.
No, I can't think of anything personally. No.
Okay.
Real quick, Q, you want to take care of that message in chat?
Yeah, will you mod that for me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Liz would come back and be like, I'm so sorry. I never introduced myself or asked for your name. So she then introduces herself and asks for his name before they decide to go back to the house and investigate.
All right. Introduces himself as Andal. And then he says it's a pleasure to meet you and says if you need a good meal, let him know.
How did you come to be familiar with the runes?
I moved here after the war. I've only been here for a short period of time, but land was plentiful and cheap, and I wanted to move away from where I was.
That's fair enough.
As you part company with the halfling and he kind of waves at you, well, I should say, are there any other questions, Moonin?
Not at this moment.
Okay. As you part ways, he gives you a wave, and from down the street, you see Colm making his way towards you. You you see Colm walking hand in hand with or not hand in hand. That was not what I meant, but at all. Walking side by side with someone. They're just skipping down the road. Look who I found, guys!
You know,
As he
I love that
approaches,
for him.
Honestly, he
As he
deserves it.
Seems like
the
something he
poor
would do.
boy.
He's just
As he
happy to
seems
be out of the house.
you feel like he's just lived his whole life underneath his mother's care,
Mm-hmm.
like in their manor home. He can't do anything.
Mm.
He's just, but mom.
He also holds the
Uh,
energy of like a golden retriever. I feel
yes,
like.
yes. He's like faithful to you guys. He just wants to see this succeed. As he makes his way towards you, you can see he is walking with a figure that appears to be a half orc, and makes an introduction as the missing fourth member. And that is where we are going to take our leave for this evening as we get ready to introduce our one other player. Unfortunately, pre-existing conditions required them um, to be away tonight, but they will be with us next week. So let's go ahead and talk about a few things. Thank you, everyone who has joined in. I hope you guys are having fun with the points and doing all the interactions and things like that. We got to see not only the stretch and the drink water and the compliment, but we got to see the boon and bane thing in there. Well, mostly the boon. So that was really great. And then we, excuse me, a little clear in the throat. This is actually active in, is it in most of the games right now?
Everything but Tuesday and Saturday right now.
Tuesday and Saturday night games are the only ones that don't have it, but there is a reason for that. Tuesday's getting ready to transition, and we're going to make all of that happen. And then on Saturday, again, it's just not set up yet. They're just
Mm-hmm.
not prepared, and I don't want to rush them in anything. So I want to make
Soon.
sure that they have the time to do that and set it up on their own. But soon, TM. So it was really a lot of fun. Welcome to the world of the Troubleshooters and an alternate universe, Earth, where magic exists and the United States doesn't, which go vote Tuesday, please. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Tomorrow is election day here in the United States. Please go out and vote. I don't really care who you vote for. I just want to see you flexing your civil liberties and go out and vote. It's your right to do so. A huge thanks again to all of my players we had with us tonight, playing the role of Emrys, the quiet man. We had Quentin Q playing with us there. You can watch Q run a game on Wednesdays, a Monster of the Week, and play in Thursdays on Descent into Avernus. We want to thank Vixen, who was playing Lysandra or Lys. Uh, Vixen and I have actually known each other for a long time, and we've played face to face quite a bit. So it was really great to have her added. So here's one of our new faces to Monday night. We will have another new face next week. And then we want to thank Otter, who is playing Moonin. Otter comes to us via the Thursday night game where you can watch him play in the Descent into Avernus game. And again, all of these wonderful changes and things like that have been the cumulative work and effort of everybody on my admin and the DMs, as well as mostly though Otter putting in all of the heavy lifting and with Q's help to just kind of like fine comb things. But honestly, Otter, it is, again, I will say it again and again and again, is a blessing for to have you and everything that you've done. So a huge thanks to Otter.
Q is a
If you
lot
would
better
like,
with the colors than I am, but it's been good collaboration.
I'm
excellent.
always here to
That's what I
help.
like. And we will look forward to seeing intro videos to all of the shows coming up soon. We will look towards different music for each one of them. And I am just really excited to play this new game with you all. That is episode 1 in the books. And we will have episode 2 next week on Monday. The schedule right now, as it plans for all of those who are watching, we will have 12 episodes. I am not taking a break for the United States Thanksgiving week because it's on a Monday, so it's not that big of a deal. However, on the Christmas and New Year's, we will be taking 2 weeks off. So we will have a big break there while we just enjoy ourselves and enjoy the family and get out and things like that. So uh, we will keep you all posted. As you can see, we actually have the updated schedule down in there now. Join the Discord. Follow us on Twitter at DireBearAC. Follow us on Facebook. Don't forget that yours truly has worked his ass off for over a year to put out a monthly adventure that you can be a part of. Go to our Kickstarter for Adventure Tomes and want this thing to be phenomenal. I mean, I already know the writing is because I wrote it, but the artwork is phenomenal. Kevin Stokes, who has worked on a lot of different projects, go forth and support us in any way you can. Share all the links. If you want to donate money, you can. I'm not going to turn it down because I'm not dumb. You can support us on Patreon. You can buy us a coffee. We have all the links down there. You can also sub. Thank you for everybody who subbed today. I saw several of those flowing in, including Captain Paragon, including gosh, so many people. I know that Raymond gave one away or gifted one, and I saw a couple of other subs that come through and some more follows and things like that. So a huge thank you to all of those newcomers and those of you who are watching the show for the first time. I hope to see you all again next week. I'm now going to shut up as I officially sign us off. Thank you, everyone. Take care until next week. Have a good night.